What is happening, Magnus sites? We got a new video for Spider-Man PS4. And make sure you're here on my page because I will be doing an unboxing for when I get my PS4 Pro Spider-Man Limited Edition. In the mail. Let's check this out here.
You are everything that's wrong with this city!
The main reason we wanted to do a completely different story, a brand new story, was to give players and fans of Spider-Man something completely new. I mean, I'm tired of seeing the old stuff. I'm tired of seeing the origin story. And guess what? The great thing is, so is everybody else. We did all our research. People have played it, seen it, watched it. People want to be surprised. People want new stories. And they want to see their favorite characters in new positions, new challenges, higher stakes. And it was the perfect opportunity. And the great thing was that Marvel was like, go for it.
Okay.
So the reason we started the story with Peter being 23, we thought, well, okay, so high school is a very important time in Peter's life, but we've seen that already. What's another time? And I was thinking back to when I graduated college. I still to this day remember like my first job, my first apartment, my first time I was getting bills, not depending on my parents for it. And I feel like that was really influential of just helping me determine who I am. And I felt like it'd be a great time to explore that with Peter. This is really a coming of age story for Peter. It's his journey becoming a young adult, and through the themes of mentorship
Walking in
and
on
partnership,
jacked up.
he kind of takes that next step of becoming an adult in his life.
Oh, I gotta run. Thanks again for the party and everything. It really means a lot.
The biggest challenge facing Spider-Man is what it's always been. It's his two worlds. It's two worlds colliding. It's seeing Peter and Spider-Man's world colliding. It's, you know, go back to what Bill Roseman, the creative director at Marvel Games, always says, the best experiences are when Peter's world and Spider-Man's world collide. And that causes a lot of issues. So the Ultimate Spider-Man series was a huge influence in terms of not exactly the story they were telling, but the structure of the entire series. They towed the line between the familiar and fresh, like, you know, the symbiote was treated a little bit different. Gwen and MJ were treated a little bit different. Like, there's just enough surprises that...
Who's that with the cape flapping like that?
You weren't really sure what was going to happen next. To me, it was a little bit of a relief that you can change certain things and people will actually love it if it's done the right way. And so early on, we talked a lot about creating our own universe, the familiar at fresh, and we thought one of the ways we would do that is to include Miles. And he doesn't come into this world through some, you know, alternate reality or some other way. He's just living in the city, just like Pete. And the way we have Miles is he's a big Spider-Man fan. He loves Spider-Man. And just like anything in a great Spider-Man story, Pete's world and Miles' world collide at a certain point. The events of the story bring them together. And we also thought, what would it be like to be a young person in this world and looking up to someone like Spider-Man? I'm not going to say a lot about the character, but I'm really excited to see how he fits into our world and his relationship with Pete and the future.
All right, well, call the play, coach.
When it came to MJ, the way we looked at her was, how does she fit best in the world that we're creating? Well, MJ would be a great person to help sell the theme of partnership. And we thought, okay, well, great, how do we get that across? Well, she's been known as an actress or a club owner, and you know, most of the time that's what people think of her as. And like, that's hard to show partnership. But what if she was more on the front lines? What would be a role that could fit into a superhero world? Well, what if she was a journalist? What if she was going for the big story? And it just fit, like, it fit on a high level with the worlds colliding, as well as that theme of partnership with Pete.
The closer I get, the better chance we have to stop them.
So the reason we chose Mr. Negative, again, starts with the worlds colliding element. When you have a supervillain who your aunt works for, in a way, you automatically have that collision. And I think also it was a way to help us say, this is a new Spider-Man experience. This is a relative newcomer to the Rogues Gallery. You haven't seen him really before in a Spider-Man game, or Spider-Man movie, or etc. Let's put him in the spotlight. Also, the way you'll learn in the game that his motivations are very personal. It's not just about replacing Fisk and becoming the big bad of the city. There's a very personal side to his motivation. And then third is there's a great gameplay element. You know, the inner demons with their negative abilities and their negatively charged weapons, from terms of a combat challenge, they're excellent to have in the game.
Why are you doing this? Because no one else will!
it was super risky to change the suit. I mean, it's such an iconic suit, the red, the blue, the spider, the lenses. And I think that we wanted something that was very familiar. So you look at that suit and you know that's Spider-Man. But we wanted something very identifiable. When people see it, they go, oh, that's Insomniac Spider-Man. And we thought that the white spider would be one of those ways. So you see the very classic, iconic elements in the suit, but you also see something very different because, as we know, that big white spider is reserved for another suit.
Yeah.
And to see that suit now on the cover of a Spider-Geddon comic is pretty crazy.
How do you like my new suit? Dashing. Where'd you get it?
The reason why we chose the Sinister Six was because, remember, Peter's been Spider-Man for 8 years. He's been fighting these guys, you know, usually one-on-one. You know, he's taking down the Vulture, he's taking down Rhino, he's taking down Electro, Scorpion, and you know, Mr. Negative and somebody else bring them all together. And you know, we wanted to show what is it like to be an experienced Spider-Man. How do we push an 8-year veteran harder than he's ever been pushed before? Let's give him his biggest challenge he's ever had, the Sinister Six. It was representation from our villains about he's more experienced, he's older now, and the challenge has never been bigger. And the Sinister Six represent that.
Remember, he said not to kill him. Good idea. In fact, we don't have to do this at all if you don't want to.
I think the part of the game that really resonates for me is all the different relationships that Peter has over the course of the game, whether it's with his mentor at work, or Aunt May, or MJ, Miles, even Martin Lee, to really show those relationships and see them evolve and change over the course of the game is, I'm a people person. I love working with people. The studio is like my second family. I love them all. And I think so much about, again, what makes such a great Spider-Man experience is the Peter side and seeing those relationships and seeing how those relationships bleed into both sides of his world. So I'm really happy that we are able to, right from the very start to when the credits roll, you see those relationships change, and that's what drives the story as much as the crazy superhero action. But I think that's what's gonna make the game stand out amongst the awesome traversal and the great combat and super epic boss fights and a beautiful New York City and all the things in between. I'm really excited for people to experience a Peter Parker story as much as a Spider-Man game.
We played Spider-Man for 3 hours, so I'm gonna have to check out that video, definitely. See what they got to say. Oh, man. Yeah, so it's gonna be different. It's gonna be like a different universe. That's okay. I'm cool with that. Totally fine with that. I have no issues with that whatsoever, fellas. So, man, what's it, the 29th? A few more days. A few more days, baby. Post comments down below. Let me know what you all thought. If you enjoyed my reaction, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. 10 million subscribers. Woo!